Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Cynthia Linox Show. I am your host, Cynthia Linox. I am excited today because I am learning that a lot of you are really growing in your own journey, discovering really who you are and coming into that place of freedom, that place of peace, that place of knowing who you are, and being able to live your authentic self and not have to live a life of performance or pretend or anything like that. You're just really learning who you are and going back to your true original blueprint. The original blueprint is what you're going for, the original manuscript of who you are before you were shaped and programmed and conditioned and indoctrinated into being that person that you are. Um, with the belief system that you have, and for many of you, like it was for me, after a while it became overwhelmingly stifling, simply because again, when something is imposed upon you and it shapes you, comes a point where you're like, this garment doesn't fit anymore, and you want to take it off and you want to really put on something that is original, that is you, authentically you, and so forth. So I want to encourage you. Now, one of the things that some of you also share, that you sit on the fence, and that's because you have allowed yourself to compare, or think that you are lagging behind, or you're competing with whomever, or trying to use somebody's experiences or someone else's ways to discover who you are, and it doesn't work that way. What happens is that you are a unique person. Your experiences, the way you were shaped, the way you were formed, the way you were programmed, the way you were conditioned and indoctrinated is totally different. Those experiences are exclusively yours. Even if you have twins, the experience, because we respond to experiences, we can both be looking at an object and see it totally different. So it's important that you understand that it comes from within. It comes from your own intuition, how you perceive things, how your perspective on things. And that's why you submit yourself to your critical thinking skills, because you have views, opinions, the way you see things, your point of view, your take on issues, and so forth. So it comes from self-respect. You have to respect your own self, your own opinions, your own ideas, your own creativity. You have to respect that and honor that, and know that it's valid. No one is better than you, and no one is lesser. You're on different level of experience. The fact that I have deconstructed from religious indoctrination doesn't mean that I am above someone that's just going through the process of deconstructing. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that I'm above. I may know different things, but at the same time, they're learning some different things as well. My freedom may be here, and they may be free in another area. So it's all unique. And that's the reason that you have to honor what is yours. And because, when you reach that place of knowing who you are, that place of knowing your identity, that place of happiness, you become so unbothered with external things. You don't get involved in people's drama, people's opinion, whether it's negative, positive, or indifferent. It's not something that will shape you. You don't envy. You're not jealous of anyone. You don't compete. You don't compare. You don't criticize. You don't shame someone. You don't judge people, because you come to realize that everyone is unique in who they are. So you live and you allow others to live as well. It really changes your whole mindset because your life becomes intentional. And when you pay attention on the self, and that's why I think last week teaching was had to do with self, being self obsessed, focusing on yourself. It's not the ego, and you're not being narcissistic. You're simply focusing on who you are, on yourself. And that's important because if you don't, well, like, where else are you going? If you don't focus on yourself, then what's going to happen is that you're going to continue shaping your identity and the knowledge of self based on external influences, and that's what you're getting away from. Things that no longer serve you. And again, living on the fence is just not a place to be because it becomes wishy-washy. You don't have to, wherever you are, even if you are in your old self or in the identity that was shaped, imposed upon you, then be that. At least you will be on one side of the fence and not rattling on the fence, sometimes this way, sometimes that. No. This whole experience is for you. It's for no one else. It is for you. And what I have come to learn, what I have come to find out, and is that number one, okay, your identity is fluid. Why? Because we're changing every day by the experiences we have and interactions we have with people and so forth. But when you know who you are, as a matter of fact, we had an experience this week, my husband and I, or last week actually, and it was just really interesting. We were involved in a major purchase, and it's a situation where you had to negotiate. Now, we did our homework because you want to go in armed, and here I am thinking, I'm in a, I know some things, and I'm a little badass and so forth. And my husband is a cool, calm, collected kind of guy. He just doesn't, he's just cool. And so we get there, and I had already made a decision as to what we wanted, or what I wanted. Woman makes that choice. And so we get there, and we made a decision, and they tried to give us options and this and that and so forth. But we knew what we wanted. And so my husband, when he spoke, he said, this is what we want. This is what we want. We want this. We want that. We want this. And this is what we're willing to offer, to put out for the choices we made. And they thought it was like ludicrous. But again, we did our homework. And they who and ha, and we revisited some things, and we revisited some things, and we revisited some things, and so forth. And my husband just sat there. Now, I was a little nervous, I've got to admit, and that's because I really wanted to go our way, but we were up against some top guns. We were up against some top guns, and I'm thinking, wow, if we, whatever. But my husband, he went there with the idea that we don't have to do this. We don't have to do this. We don't have to go there. We don't need this. We are not negotiating from a place of, oh, I hope it works out. Oh, I want this. No, it's not a place of need. It's a place of choice. And in our minds, at least in his mind, it's like, I'm not here for you to choose me. I am here to choose. And all I could do was remain silent. I I just, you know, I knew when it was time for me to just observe and watch it play out. And he just wouldn't budge. And then came a point where he's like, you know what? We are not going to waste any more time. We have options, and so we're going to leave. And when we, made that motion to get up and leave, then of course, they revisited again, and they proposed some other things and additions and this and that, and just try to, how negotiate. When you're negotiating in business, my friend, you know how that goes. But the thing is, when you go in to negotiate, you have to make sure that you know your leverage. You have to have leverage, but your power happens or comes from when you can walk away. When you know you can walk away from this situation, whether it's a house, real estate, investment, whatever it is, if you know you can walk away, that's your power right there. You don't need something. You don't go in with a mindset of, oh my goodness, I hope it works out. I hope they like us. I hope it works out. I hope it. No. You go in there seeking alignment, because that's one of the things that I have come to discover. Life is all about alignment. You either align or you walk. That's it. You align or you walk. There is no gray shade. There is no in between. Either you align or you walk. And you have to have that resolve. You have to be resolute when it comes to that. You either align with what you want and with the powers that be, or you walk. And for a moment, I almost thought that I would cave. Now, me caving doesn't mean anything in terms, because we went in as a unit. We went in as a unit, as a partner, my husband and I. So I would not go against what he is saying, at least not publicly. But so we said, give us a moment, let us talk. So him and I, we talked out some things, and then they came back, and my husband he just stuck to his guns. And at that point, I just didn't say anything, because I thought, if he's gonna ride this out to the end, then whatever it is, that's what it's going to be. And finally, they yielded. They said, okay. The leverage that we have was so powerful that any business organization, you don't want, when you have a potential client, when you have a potential customer that has the resources, the leverage, the resolve, the ability to make decision, they want your product, but they can do without it. When you have a client that has that, you don't want to let that customer walk out, especially when they have all the things that they can make a decision right there and then. Everything is good. Everything, they have the resources to make a decision. And my husband knew that about himself. We are not here asking for a favor. We are not here asking for a break. We're not here asking for a deal. We're not here asking for a hookup. We're not here mendigando, trying to gem up favor to get things our way. We're not here for any of that. You have a product. We like what you have. It looks attractive. We come to do business with you. So after I said to my husband, I said, when business is established, they're there also to make a profit, because that's how I think. And he said, yeah, they can make a profit, but not off me. Like, and he said they can make a profit, but they're not going to gouge their profit off of me. And he just said that. Well, not in front of them. He said no. They're here to make a profit, and I'm there to do what's best for us. And he made that clear. And I thought, dang, because it was like seeing identity, seeing someone that knows who they are, seeing their identity, the behavior unfold in real time. Watching it unfold in real time. I learned something from that. I learned something from that because there was a moment that I thought their suggestion was meeting us, at a good level. But he did not agree with that. No, he had his mind set on a certain amount of resources, figures, money that he was going to, let go in order to close that deal. And he just did not budge. And I thought, gosh, if it were me by myself, I would have walked out of there, with paying more. And so I learned from that. And when I shared it with him after, with my husband, he did not even think in terms of identity, knowing who you are. He didn't think in those terms at all. All he in his mind, all he thought of was, I'm here to do business, and I'm here to do good business with you. And this is what I propose. And if you can work with this, fine. If you can't, then that's fine as well. Then I will just leave. And we would have left earlier, but simply they came back and, they moved some things and moved some numbers and did this and did that. And they're watching. Okay, so you gain this, we gain this, you gain this, we gain this, you gain, you profit from this, we profit from that. And then toward the end, they said, well, there's not a whole lot of profit in this for us. But the thing is also, when we went in there, they liked us. They kind of liked us. They liked us, and we knew that. Not that we used that in any way, but they liked us. They favored us from the moment we walked in, because we visited them a week before, and that's when we said, okay. And then we, after discussing it and doing a little more research, then we went back and we said, okay, let's take a look at this whole whole plan and see how it works for us. And they were delighted to do business with us because they knew, or at least before they even went into our credit and all that, they just knew that we were solid. For some reason, they just perceived that. I mean, I don't know. But the point is, what I admired most is to see my husband he was just there. And he was resolved. He said, no, I'm not altering this. I'm not altering that. And so I'm saying that to say this: when you know who you are, you can clothe yourself with that confidence and that assertiveness, knowing that you can walk away from things. And that's why, we can bounce back. You're resilient. When something happens and you respond to something, you can bounce back. If it's something challenging or negative or whatever, you can always bounce back. You know who you are. It's not the end of the world. It's not, you know. So when you sit with that knowledge, when you sit with that understanding, when you know that you can, be self-governed and independent, when you operate with that mindset, not only do you put yourself in a position to of self-leadership, but you put yourself in a position where uh, you are there because you expect the outcome to be in your favor. That was the expectation we had. But at the same time, even though we had the expectation for it to work in our favor, we were willing to walk away. I was a little, I don't want to say wishy-washy, but I was a little, I didn't show any of that, but I'm just thinking, if I was there by myself, what would have happened? At what point I would have closed the deal? And that's why I say, my husband and I, we are a team. We are partners. I would have closed the deal, at level, I don't know, level 4, maybe level 4. And he just said no. He wants the whole shebang. He wants everything. Level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if it didn't work out, then that's fine. Didn't work out. So you see, there are advantages, my friend, when you know who you are, when you know what you are made of, when you live by certain standards, when you have boundaries, when you exercise your non-negotiables, you are in a place of control. That's why it's important for you to know. Because if you don't know, and what it taught me is that, I have a ways to go. And again, we don't, my husband, he knows what I share, but he doesn't really. And that's one of the things that really attracted me to him when I met him. He was just so calm, but resolved. And when he feels something, when he goes by his intuition and he makes a decision, things always work out in his favor. And he is guided by that. He kind of guides us by that kind of mindset, decision, behavior. He just pauses and he feels it. And that's why, when we, people talk about manifesting this and manifesting that. No, you unfold your reality. You unfold it because you feel it. Now, I was intentional in another way. I knew that this is what I wanted. This is what I would prefer if I could have it my way, and everything works with the resources that we, have to put out and all that. This is exactly what I would want. And now I was not willing to compromise that. I was not willing to come because, as a matter of fact, I said, we had a conversation during the week and we said, okay, we could go this way or we could go that way. And then later on in the week, I got to myself and I said, you know what? No. I need to make a decision. That's what I thought. I need to make a decision as to what I want for us. It's something that I would have made a decision anyway, as far as the overall framing of everything. And I had made a decision. I said, this is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I want. This is, and I saw the whole framing of it as it was a decision that was made. Not like, oh, we could go here or we could go that. No. And I mentioned it to my husband. I said, this is the whole framing. This is what I want. This is what I desire. And I know in life for me, it's when I make a decision. When I make a decision, I embody that decision. And that's what works for me. Again, figure out what works for you because you have your own magic. You have your own magic. You have your own magic, things that work for you. You know, you may have some kind of way or a way of thinking, a certain pattern, but that's the pattern that works for me. When I make a decision, mine is, you know, my husband is his intuition leads him to a decision. But for me, obviously, you know, I go by that. When I make a decision, then it puts me in a place of unfolding creatively. When I make a decision, I embody the thought, the feeling, and the emotion. Because it's not just thinking, my friend. It's not just what you think or what you perceive. No, it's what you embody, what you feel. You begin to live it. It's a knowing. You know it, you live it, you feel it, you embrace it, you embody it as if you're already in that place or you already have what you want. You embody it. And that's with anything, with everything. If you're in a position where you are needing to be healed of something, you need healing and whatever it is, then embody that whole mindset, that whole vision of you being healed, of wholeness, of well-being. And make sure your body, your mind, your feeling, your emotion start acting that way. Total wellness, total healing. If it's something that you want, you desire, you know, somewhere you want to go, you want to travel, or you want to you know, create relationships, then begin to embody that whole idea. Begin to embody that whole thought process and feel it and live it. Feel it, live it, embody it. That's why I said earlier, see, for me, things happen in a different way. And even though I mentioned that community situations is great, groups, networking, collective thing, it's great to have those connections. But for me personally, they're social. And I seize opportunities to encourage and motivate others. But when it comes to me, because I'm so intentional, I know what works for me. And I have experienced what works for me. Now, you have to decide, my friend, what works for you. What works for you? You can discover what works for you, but you have to see it work. That's why I always say it doesn't matter what you believe, you have to see it work. Because when you see it work, then you know that you have the ability to create, the ability to see things unfold in your midst. You know the steps you had to go through. You know the feelings, the emotions, the thoughts that had to come and reside, take residence in your mind. I know for me, you know, when I lock into something, regardless of what it is, when I lock into something, it's just too late because I'm gonna get it. This is not like, you know, this is reality. You've seen some things in your life. Now, unfortunately, sometimes people lock into things that are negative, that are, if they're motivated by fear or worry, or they're fretting about something, or they're afraid, they're ashamed, that they're guided by these emotions, and then it's going to happen. Then it's going to happen. It's going to happen. But when you lock in to that which you want, and you eliminate any thoughts of why you cannot have it or why you should not have it, do you know that we program our nervous system to reject wealth? People can program their nervous system to reject wealth. You can hear something like, money doesn't grow on tree. It's like, what do you think? Money grows on tree? If you heard that when you were a little person, that is a programming. When you see your parents struggle to pay the bills, the rent, and all of that, that is a programming into your nervous system. So you grow with a mindset of scarcity. And sometimes that's why sometimes you see people that win the lottery, after a while they go broke. Why? Because they can't manage money. They can't manage resources, finances. They either give it away or spend it irresponsibly, or they simply cannot manage it. Why? They don't have a good relationship with wealth. And these are the same people that have a tendency to criticize the wealthy, or people that are abounding in resources and so forth, when in essence you can as well. You can also abound in feast and abundance and resources, and live your life abundantly. So there is a benefit. There are benefits to knowing who you are. And the more I think of it, the more conscious I become. It becomes like a conscious awareness about different things in my life. And I said to my husband, I said, oh, wow. I said, it becomes like a currency. It becomes your currency, because you will know that you can unfold the things that you want in your life. You can unfold it. You discover what works for you. Again, it's like, for me, I make a decision and I know, but this happens all the time. That's why I always say to my husband, like, if we're like in the middle of something or whatever, I make a decision. I make a decision. And that for me is like, that's it. Sometimes I'm at a place or the store or whatever, and I am like, I hate to vacillate between this and that, or this color or that color. No, I just like to be able to make a decision. Make a decision quickly. Make a decision. And if it's something that you realize you can reverse, it's like, wait a minute. No, I think, because as a matter of fact, on one situation, I said, I want this, and then I want that. And then I thought, no. Then what happens is that I start seeing it. I start seeing the whole framework. I start visualizing, and me present in that situation, I start seeing it. I went there to live. I start living present in that situation. I start living in it. And then I said, okay, no, this is what I see, because I knew this is what I see. This is what I saw. This is what I see. Therefore, this is what I want. And that really helped me solidify my position. Like, this is what I want. It's fascinating, especially when you know it all comes from you. When you know it all comes from you, the thing with this that hinders some people is that, especially religious people, if you pray, then that is external. You're depending on someone else. You're depending on a divine being to help you with that or to bring it to you and stuff like that, and you don't know what to do. You don't allow your critical thinking skills, or you don't allow your creative skills to you know be in motion, to propel and start thinking, how can this be, how can I achieve this, how can I you just wait. You just wait, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait. I've got plenty of friends that's been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for things they want, desire. And it's not my place to say, look, this is how this works. Because you know what? I know what works for me, but I'm saying to you, discover what works for you. You have your own magic. Call it whatever. Ability, catalyst, ability. You have your own opportunity. You have what it takes. You are a magnificent creative being. And my friend, at this point, there's no turning back. You're moving forward. How many summers do you have left in life? I don't care if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. How many summers do you have left? It is now time for you to enjoy your life, to live a life more abundantly, to live a life that is unapologetic, no shame, no embarrassment, no judgment, no criticism. Live the life that you want. I always say, you are free to do whatever you want, as long as your freedom or whatever you do does not infringe on the freedom of someone else. As long as you don't go around hurting other people, you can do whatever you do. Enjoy the life that you desire, that you want to live. And don't limit your thoughts by the resources you have. Don't ever think, I can't afford it. It's too expensive. I'm looking for something cheaper. No, don't. That's not what you want to say. Make a decision as to what you want. And if you're savvy enough to go and negotiate based on what you have, just make sure you have leverage. And leverage is just an understanding of who you are and be in a position where you're ready to walk away. That's your power. Because you don't need a favor, you don't need a hookup, you don't need a deal. No, you need what they have, and what as long as you know the value, of whatever it is that you want, then you can function from that standpoint and have an advantage. You are more powerful than you will ever admit, or than you will ever come to know. And once you have that understanding, once you start to believe that you deserve the life that you want and that you can have it, once you come to acknowledge that, once you come to recognize that, once you come to accept that, regardless of what it is, if it's your health, if it's your finances, if it's your relationships, whatever it is, if you're in a relationship that's not working for you, then that's okay. Get into another relationship. I mean, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, you could either transform the one you're in or create something new within the same space. Do what's best for you is what I'm saying. Do what is best for you. Once you are authentic, you start living for yourself. You start living your true self, and you will start giving your best self to someone else. Now, if that person cannot appreciate who you are, if that person cannot honor who you are, then you are free to walk away. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be in a business situation. Some relationships are simply not good. And I don't care whether that is friends or family. Some relationships are simply not healthy. Some relationships are full of drama and situations, drama and chaos, distractions. I stay away from, well, I don't even come close to those kind of relationships, because it's easier for me to just walk away and than to stay in a relationship that's toxic. Why? Because I honor myself. I'm not going to betray myself simply to stay in any kind of relationship, friendship. If it's not good for you or good for me, then why? You don't need to have a whole bunch of friends. You just, you know, you start with yourself, honoring yourself. And for those of you that are really digging in, I'm telling you, I encourage you to just keep on, but don't compare with anyone else. Don't try to do what someone else does. Now, you may use as a framework, you may as a frame of reference. Oh, okay. So you could do this, you could do that, you could do whatever you want. Create something new, a new strategy, a new pattern of living, a new way of doing things. You can be the creator of something new. The thing is that sometimes we have a tendency to underestimate our ability. Why? Because if you are in an environment where people don't are not prospering, or they are not expanding their surroundings, they're not expanding, they're not prospering, they're not growing, they're not developing, then what happens? We would have a tendency to mimic the environment that we are in. If you're with people that are full of doubt, they're not sure, or they're constantly trying and struggling and just surviving, then that kind of association, that's gonna be part of your makeup. But then again, if you're with people who are resolved and confident and assertive and positive and optimistic, and it's not just positive and optimism, because that's good mindset, but it's what you come to a place where your nervous system gets to the place where it understands the messages it's sending to your thoughts, and then your feelings and your emotion, and you start living your new self. You become totally transformed. When your mind is changed, it transforms your whole outlook. It transforms who you are. And you begin to function unapologetically. You don't apologize for being who you are. You don't apologize for growing. You don't apologize because you've changed. And understand this: some people know the old version of you, the person that used to be, and they may resent your growth, your increase, you expanding into someone new. And it's not that you're someone new, it's just that the information that you are acquiring is just changing your way of being, your way of thinking, your way of behaving. If you're a person that's used to always say yes, 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 and to everything that somebody asks or want and so forth, and then suddenly you start saying no. They see that you are not empowered, and you're saying no, no, I don't think I want to do that, and so forth. And people they just won't be used to that new version of you. And you can't be apologetic about it. You can't apologize for expanding. You cannot apologize for growing. You cannot apologize, or you should not apologize for your growth, your development. You should not apologize for that. And you may outgrow your circle. You may outgrow the people that you grew up with. You may outgrow even some family members. And I know one person shared with me, it was so difficult because they have a certain pattern in their lives, things that they do as a family. And the moment they start trying to change some things, and people got restless, and they's like, no, it's like, why are you trying to, this is family tradition. Try to change something in a family tradition, and you'll see how everybody take the gloves off, and they get upset. Why? Because traditions are strong, and that's why sometimes certain traditions no longer fits you, your mindset no longer fits the things that you want in your life. I had some friends. We used to do some fun things every month, sometimes twice a month. We would go out to dinner and certain places, and we would celebrate birthdays and do things. And we did that for years. We would meet pretty much at the same place, and when it's someone's birthday, we would bring a gift and all of that kind of stuff. And after a while, I was like, as I start changing, I'm like, you know what? Let's choose someplace else. Let's choose another restaurant. And they're like, okay, let's choose another restaurant. And so we chose another restaurant. Every time we would meet, just something new. And then, with the birthdays, I said, you know what? Let's now, instead of bringing surprise birthday gift, let's give a theme. In other words, let us know what you want, whether you want jewelry or you want travel accessories or you want cosmetic, whatever. Give us a theme, and we will buy something in that category that you choose. So everything that you would get would be things that you could use. And so we started doing that. And then what else happened? Oh, and then I said, because, after doing this for a while, it becomes so routine and it can get so predictable. And then after a while, I said, let's just eliminate the gifts. Let's just not do gifts. It's our birthday. We go out, we celebrate, we have a drink, whatever. But let's not do that. And there was a lot of pushback and so we were like some wanted to continue, and then some wanted, and then I just said, well, you know what, I'm done. I don't want any more gifts, and I'm not going to give any more gifts. And it was that simple. I had to make a decision for me because I got it became sort of routine, and I wanted change. And it was so strong in me that I wanted change. I wanted to see something new. I wanted to expand. I wanted to grow. I wanted to develop. I wanted the newness of life. I wanted us to grow and do something new. We don't meet anymore, and simply because we have grown. And for me, I know, just like I said, groups are great, community is good, the collective is great, but I can function. I see a lot of results in my life when I am intentional about things, when I operate best on my own. In that sense, like making decisions. I want to do this, I want to do that, because I remember we even talked about, I said, we need to do a podcast. And we kind of try to get that started, but it didn't work out. But it's something that I wanted to do, and here I am, going on a few years doing this podcast, which I enjoy. I enjoy hearing from you. I enjoy talking to you, and I enjoy seeing you, or knowing that you are growing, and I am bringing the message to you every week about growth, about identity, about progress, about developing, about living your best life, about living unapologetically, about digging into your intuition and knowing that you can create a life that you want, and that you have all the resources within you to live the life that you want, and that you don't have to have everything set up right now to do it, but that you can do it. I enjoy that. I love that. I love coming on this podcast. And you know what? I am now I've been wanting to for a while, to make some changes, and I will. But again, it's alignment. It's alignment. I can't just, or my intuition is not telling me to just go out and choose anyone. No. For some time I thought, let me do this or get a co-host or whatever. But no, I will know. It's alignment. It has to align. And it will. It will. Right now, as a matter of fact, if you think that you can offer something on this show, let's talk. Because I may have someone, as a matter of fact, you may have a story that you want to share. And if you have a story that you want to share, and I'm talking a story of personal development, a story of you unfolding, coming into your fullness, your identity, your sense of being, of knowing who you are and so forth. If you have a story, let me know. Let me know. You could write to me at, it's right down there, info@the CynthiaLinoxShow.com, and let me know. Let's get to a little more involved in your life, and your story could help someone else. Just like you said, how my story has helped you grow. So I am open. I am open to something new, to something fresh. For some reason, this whole topic of the journey of self-discovery and identity, I know what it's done for me. I know what it's done for my life. I know what it's done in my life, my relationships and all of that. And that's my passion, because I look at people, and a lot of people, they live life by default or on autopilot, and that's okay. In most cases, they don't know that they're living on autopilot. They just do whatever. And I'm saying life is so sweet, it's rich, and I am encouraging you to live it with gusto. Get off the fence. Make a decision. If you want to stay over here, then stay over here, and that's it. But if you want to, jump the fence, then do that with gusto, knowing that you can have the life that you desire. Knowing that you can have the life that you desire. Unapologetically. That's the thing. You don't have to apologize for wanting more, desiring more, because that's what life is all about. Life is about progress. Life is about growing. Life is about development. Life is about increase. That's why, when you get a promotion, after a year or two, you want another promotion. That's the way we are wired. Otherwise, you remain stagnant, and you don't want that. You don't want to remain stagnant. I'm going to leave you with that. I am really excited about life, and I hope that you find excitement in your life. Whatever the situation is, try to make the best of it. And And just know that you are able to make significant changes in your life. You don't need to look outside. You just need to look within, because within is where you will find all the answers. All the answers that you need. Your personal GPS, your personal compass will guide you, will lead you. But then you have to trust. You have to trust yourself and know that your thoughts, your opinions, your view, and the decisions that you are able to make based on your critical thinking skills, that they are just as valid as the person you listen to, the things you read, the things you observe. Yours has equal validity, if not more, because it comes from you. And that's what's going to work for you. I'm going to leave you with that, my friend, so that you can sup on that. Every Thursday, we meet right here, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you can't meet me here at 2 p.m., these icons over here, it's on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can pick up the show 24/7 and watch it. I'm also a life coach, a transformational life coach, an identity architect, where we rebuild, we reconstruct, and we come into that place of you knowing who you are, and you're well cemented, you've got deep roots, you set up standards and boundaries and non-negotiables, and you get to know yourself, and you start living and experiencing the advantages of knowing who you are. And if you wish to drop me a note, that's the info over here. info@thecynthialinoxshow.com. Just drop me a note, and whatever things you may want me to share, I am open to that. And again, if you have a story that you would like to share, a story that will help others, then you can touch base with me and we can chat and see how we can unpack your story so that we can, bring you on board with me, and we can share it, and we can hear what you have to say. In the meantime, amigos, I will see you next Thursday. Next Thursday, same time, same place. Tomorrow is a work day. It's Friday, so. But in addition to that, have a fantastic weekend. Have a great, whatever you choose to do, have a great weekend. I think we're expecting some weather, but we're going to do some fun stuff this weekend. And I'm always looking forward to it. I don't like to think in terms of weekend, because I'm able to do a lot of stuff during the week. But anyway, that's when a lot of events happen and things like that. So we are going to set ourselves up to enjoy some of that. In the meantime, you have a fantastic weekend. Next week, same place.